The stars shone cold and distant over the Andromeda mining belt, casting long streaks of white light across the black void. Captain Leona Varys floated between the skeletal remains of abandoned stations and fractured cargo ships, her boots clanging softly against the metallic hull of a drifting freighter. She had been scavenging these sectors for years, hunting for anything left behind in the wake of interstellar trade disputes and abandoned mining operations. Every ship, every crate, every twisted panel could hide something valuable, or something deadly. She had learned to trust no one in the void, not the desperate, not the smugglers, and certainly not the alien scavengers that occasionally passed through the belt. Leona's visor displayed a faint green glow as she scanned the fractured freighter, noting the broken cargo pods and shattered life support systems. Her fingers brushed over her tool belt, her mind calculating the safest route through the wreckage. She had been here before, enough times to know that space had a way of punishing even the smallest misstep. But then she heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible cry. It was high-pitched and weak, and it shouldn't even have been audible in the vacuum of space. Her heart skipped a beat, a reaction that had nothing to do with protocol or training. She followed the sound, moving carefully through the twisted metal corridors. Sparks fell from ruptured conduits, and the walls creaked under the pressure of the vacuum outside. Finally, in the wreckage of a collapsed life support chamber, she saw them, a small, luminescent creature huddled beside the shattered remnants of its pod. Its skin shimmered faintly, a translucent blue that pulsed softly with its shallow breathing. Beside it lay the lifeless body of another creature, larger, with the same luminous skin but cracked and dim, a stark contrast to the tiny figure struggling to survive. Leona's first instinct was caution. Her suit's sensors warned her of biochemical hazards. Alien species were unpredictable, and many carried enzymes or pheromones that could incapacitate a human in moments. But something about the helplessness of the small creature tugged at her. It was vulnerable, frightened, and alone. Its large, liquid blue eyes, too big for its tiny head, stared at her with a mix of fear and recognition. The cry it emitted was almost human in its desperation, and it pierced the walls around her heart. She crouched down, extending a gloved hand slowly. "It's okay," she whispered, though she wasn't sure the alien understood her words. Her voice sounded strange even to her, muffled through the helmet, yet soft enough not to startle the fragile creature. She waited, her chest tight with anticipation. The creature didn't move immediately. It blinked, and a tiny sound of whimpering escaped its mouth. Leona exhaled, cautiously reaching forward and lifting the infant into her arms. The warmth of her suit contrasted sharply with the cold shimmer of its skin, and she wrapped it carefully in a thermal blanket she had carried in her kit. The mother's body trembled one last time as if reacting to the presence of her child being handled. A sudden surge of energy pulsed through the wreckage, making the lights flicker and the metal groan. Leona instinctively shielded the baby, feeling a strange heat wash over her arms despite the cold metal around them. The child's glow intensified, pulsing brighter than before, and she realized that the baby seemed stronger somehow, even as it remained fragile and vulnerable. She had no idea what she had just witnessed, only that it was remarkable, maybe even miraculous. Leona carefully examined the infant's tiny features. Its limbs were thin but perfectly formed, with delicate fingers that grasped instinctively at her gloves. Its head was slightly larger in proportion to its body, and the enormous eyes reflected the faint lights of the station, with an intelligence that seemed too advanced for a creature so young. She wondered how it had survived at all without its mother. The life pod was completely destroyed, and the freighter had been drifting for weeks, maybe months, in the cold emptiness of space. Her comm crackled. "Captain Varys," a familiar voice said. It was Jarek, her second-in-command and longtime friend. "You're still in the belt. Thought you'd be back at Station Gamma Delta by now." His voice was casual, but she knew him too well to think he wasn't worried. "I found something," she said carefully, glancing at the glowing infant. "Something alive." and I'm not leaving it here." There was silence on the other end, then a low whistle. "You're not seriously thinking of—" "Yes, I'm thinking of exactly that," she interrupted, her voice firm. "I'll bring it back to the ship. We'll figure out what it is. But it's alive, Jarek. It needs help." There was a pause. "Captain, you know this could get complicated. Alien species don't always respond to human kindness." Leona gave a small, tired smile, her eyes never leaving the infant. "Maybe. Or maybe humans just don't give up." She navigated carefully back through the freighter, cradling the infant against her chest. The glow it emitted seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. She had never encountered a species like this before, and even after years in deep space, her mind struggled to comprehend its biology. Its skin seemed to absorb and reflect light in an unusual way, almost like it contained tiny bioluminescent cells, but the warmth it radiated was unmistakable. The ship's sensors showed the exterior atmosphere was near vacuum, and the freighter's hull was unstable. One misstep could tear open the corridor, exposing them both to the void. Leona moved with deliberate caution, placing each bootstep with care. Despite her focus, she couldn't shake the feeling that the universe itself was watching her actions, judging her. She didn't care. This little creature's life was in her hands, and she would not abandon it. When she finally reached her shuttle, she carefully set the infant inside the life-supported cargo bay. Its glow dimmed slightly as it settled, and she allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her fingers hovered over the control panel, hesitating before initiating the docking sequence to her main vessel. This small act of compassion, she realized, had already changed everything. Somewhere far beyond the mining belt, eyes that did not belong to humans were surely watching. Beings who had underestimated humans for centuries might now be reconsidering their assumptions. As the shuttle detached from the derelict freighter, a small tremor ran through the hull, as if the universe itself acknowledged her decision. The stars outside glittered cold and distant, indifferent to the struggles of the tiny creatures in her care, yet somehow, in the midst of emptiness, a new spark had been ignited. Leona settled into the pilot's seat, keeping her eyes on the glowing infant in the cargo bay. She whispered softly, though the words were meant more for herself than for it.
"You'll be safe now."
"I promise." The infant stirred slightly, blinking up at her with those impossibly large, intelligent eyes. It let out a soft, cooing sound, almost as if it understood. And in that instant, Leona knew that humans, stubborn, fearless, relentless humans, were about to prove themselves once again in a galaxy that had long doubted them. The journey back to her main vessel was quiet, save for the occasional hum of the shuttle engines. But Leona's mind raced with questions. What species had this infant belonged to? What had killed its parent? And what powers or abilities might it possess, given the strange pulse of energy she had witnessed? She did not have answers yet, but she had something stronger. Hope, and human determination. The shuttle glided silently through the cold black of space, carrying both Leona Varys and the small Teller infant. Its glow had dimmed slightly, but not entirely, and it now seemed to pulse gently in rhythm with the shuttle's hum. Leona kept a steady hand on the controls, her eyes flicking to the cargo bay every few seconds. The baby was fragile, yet its presence filled the shuttle with an unexpected warmth, a faint luminescence against the endless void. Jarek's voice crackled through the comm, tense and cautious. "Leona, I've been scanning the belt. I'm picking up some unusual energy readings near your location. They aren't normal life signatures, not human, not any registered species. It's like something is tracking you." Leona's brow furrowed. "Tracking us. How? We're in the middle of nowhere, beyond any controlled sectors. There shouldn't be anyone, nothing. Maybe it's not something alive," Jarek replied. "Could be automated, ancient tech, or predators." Predators. The word made her chest tighten. Humans had faced alien predators before, both biological and mechanical, and she knew better than to underestimate them. But as she glanced at the infant, she felt a protective fire rising inside her. No one, not alien, not machine, not ancient technology, would harm this small creature while she was alive. The shuttle's autopilot kept them steady as Leona monitored the approaching energy fields. Small ripples of interference appeared on the sensor grid, like invisible waves brushing against the hull. The readings intensified with every kilometer they traveled, following the trajectory of her shuttle. She adjusted the shields and ran diagnostics, but there was nothing solid to target, nothing physical to see. Then, without warning, a beam of energy lanced through space, striking the shuttle's aft thrusters. Alarms blared, lights flashing red. The shuttle shuddered violently, and Leona gritted her teeth, fighting to maintain control. The teller infant squeaked, its glow flickering rapidly, and she instinctively wrapped her arm tighter around it, shielding it from the impact. "Hang on, little one," she muttered, slamming the throttle forward. Sparks flew inside the cockpit as the systems overloaded. The shuttle lurched, twisting against the force of the unknown attack, but Leona's hands were steady, her mind sharp. Years of experience in deep space combat and evasive maneuvers kicked in. She piloted with precision, using the shuttle's agility to weave through the invisible beams, each movement calculated to minimize exposure. Minutes passed like hours. The attacks persisted but were erratic, almost as if the source was testing her. Then, a shape appeared on the sensors, a massive, shadowy form moving at impossible speed. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Too large to be a ship, too fast for any known propulsion system. She realized with a cold clarity that they were being hunted. Leona's mind raced. The teller infant's pulse grew stronger in her arms, a faint but steady rhythm that seemed to react to the danger around them. It was as if the baby could sense the threat, amplifying the human instinct she already felt. Her jaw tightened. They would not succeed in taking this child, not while she was alive. Using the shuttle's remaining energy, she initiated a series of evasive maneuvers. Twisting through asteroid fields, diving into shadowed regions of space, where sensors couldn't follow easily, she kept moving, keeping the baby safe in the cargo bay. Every maneuver was calculated, every decision precise. She realized that human ingenuity and stubbornness, qualities often dismissed by other species, were her greatest weapons. The hunter, whatever it was, seemed to underestimate her. Hours passed. Leona's shuttle had sustained minor damage, systems overheating in parts, but the teller infant remained unharmed, glowing steadily now. Its eyes tracked her every movement, and sometimes when she glanced back, she could swear it was watching her with understanding beyond its size. A strange connection had formed between them, unspoken but undeniable. Finally, she reached the relative safety of a cloaked asteroid station, long abandoned and off all known maps. The interior was dimly lit, dust particles floating in the weak artificial light. She set the shuttle down carefully, the thrusters shaking the old structure slightly. Leona opened the cargo bay and looked at the infant. It blinked slowly, almost calmly, as if acknowledging the new environment. She ran her fingers through her hair, exhausted but alert. "We're safe for now," she said softly. But she knew that the danger wasn't gone. Whoever, or whatever, was hunting them had not given up. The energy readings had stopped only because they had entered a shielded zone, not because the threat had disappeared. Jarek's voice returned on the comm, a mixture of awe and concern. "Leona, what did you bring back?" "That thing. It's emitting readings I've never seen. It's not just alive, it's unusual. I don't know if it's biological or something more." Leona looked at the infant again. It had calmed, glowing softly in the dim light of the shuttle bay. She realized that this tiny creature carried more than vulnerability. It carried potential. Maybe it was the key to understanding species far beyond human knowledge. Maybe it was something that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. Despite the danger, she felt a spark of pride. Humans were often underestimated, dismissed as reckless, weak, or primitive. But moments like this proved otherwise. One human armed with experience, determination, and a willingness to act when others wouldn't, could defy expectation, could protect the helpless, could change the course of events in ways that no alien observer could predict. The next morning, Leona set up temporary life support and feeding systems for the infant. The alien biology was unfamiliar, but she studied it carefully, observing its pulses, its reactions to warmth and light. Slowly, she began to understand the basic needs, improvising with the technology she had on hand. Hours passed, and the baby began to feed, taking sustenance from a nutrient solution she had adapted. Its glow strengthened, and it seemed to respond to her presence, curling slightly against her arm. As the day wore on, strange thoughts crept into her mind. Could this infant survive on its own someday? Could it grow strong enough to defend itself, to avenge its fallen parent, or even to influence events in ways humans could not yet imagine? The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, but she did not falter. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when they refused to give up, and she would ensure this creature survived, no matter the cost. In the distance outside the station, the shadowy shape had not disappeared. Leona knew it was still out there, waiting, observing. But she also knew something else. Humans had an edge no other species often considered: the ability to improvise, to act boldly, to refuse to surrender even in the face of overwhelming odds. That edge, she realized, would protect them both. As night fell over the asteroid station, Leona sat beside the infant, carefully monitoring its vitals. Its glow illuminated the small room with a soft, calming light. For the first time since she had found it, she allowed herself a moment of hope. Not naive hope, but the kind built from experience, from survival, from knowing that no matter how dire the odds, humans had a way of persevering. And as she sat there, watching over the tiny alien, she silently vowed that no predator, no hunter, and no obstacle would take this life from her. Humans had been underestimated before, but in the quiet moments of determination and acts of compassion and bravery, they proved themselves every day. She would prove it again. The night passed slowly, filled with quiet hums of equipment and the soft pulse of the infant's glow. Outside, the void waited, vast and indifferent. But inside that small, dimly lit station, one human and one tiny alien had begun a bond that would defy expectations, challenge the unknown, and eventually, in ways neither could yet see, change the galaxy. Leona closed her eyes briefly, exhausted but vigilant. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, and perhaps new allies. She didn't know what awaited them in the dark expanse beyond, but she did know one thing. Humans, stubborn, fearless, and inventive, were never easily defeated, and together, she and the infant would face whatever came, with courage, intelligence, and the unyielding determination that defined their species. The following day, the asteroid station felt unusually quiet, as if the entire sector held its breath. Outside, the cold void stretched infinitely, indifferent to the struggles of two lives hiding within the battered metal walls. Leona moved carefully through the station, checking the emergency systems she had rigged for life support, keeping the infant at the center of her attention. Its glow pulsed steadily, a calming rhythm in contrast to the rising tension in her mind. The infant had begun to respond more actively to its surroundings. When Leona moved, it would stretch tiny limbs, its eyes tracking her movements with an intelligence that was both surprising and unsettling. She had spent the entire night observing it, cataloging reactions, and adapting her makeshift feeding devices. The teller species, she realized, was far more advanced in subtle ways than humans often gave other species credit for. But humans had their own edge: adaptability, creativity, and sheer stubbornness. She had never felt more certain that her instincts would carry them both through whatever danger was approaching. Her calm crackled suddenly. Breaking the silence, Jarek's voice was tense, almost urgent. "Leona, you need to listen. I've been analyzing the energy readings from last night. That thing, it's not just a predator. It's a tracker, bioengineered to hunt intelligent life forms. And from the pattern, it's targeting the infant. Whatever that child is, it's important. Something about it draws attention across light years." Leona's jaw tightened. She had suspected the infant's uniqueness, but hearing it confirmed sent a chill through her. "Do you know who made it?" she asked. "No. It's ancient technology, maybe predating known interstellar civilizations. Whoever or whatever set it loose knew exactly what it was looking for. Humans? Maybe they were just in the way. But that infant, it's valuable, and someone doesn't want it alive outside their control." Leona exhaled slowly, staring at the pulsing glow of the infant. "Then we won't let it fall into their hands. We fight if we have to." Jarek hesitated, but finally said, "I don't envy you. Keep it safe, and be careful." The comm went silent, leaving Leona alone with the quiet hum of machinery and the glowing life in the cargo bay. She ran her fingers along the edge of the infant's makeshift cradle. Its pulse seemed almost synchronized with her own heartbeat. A subtle but undeniable connection. She had learned that human determination was amplified by purpose, and she now realized that this child had given her a mission beyond mere survival. As she worked on reinforcing the station's outer hull, her sensors detected movement. Not mechanical movement, but biological, something alive, intelligent, and extremely close. Leona froze, hand hovering over the pistol at her hip. The movement was subtle, almost imperceptible against the asteroid's irregular surface. Whoever, or whatever, was out there, they had found her. Her mind raced. She had to protect the infant, but she also had to gather information. Humans excelled at improvisation, and she had been trained for encounters far more dangerous than this. Slowly, she activated the station's external cameras, scanning for any anomalies. Then she saw it, a figure, tall and slender, cloaked in the shadows of the asteroid's uneven surface. Its limbs moved with inhuman grace, and though she could not see its face, she felt the sharp intelligence behind its actions. It was observing, calculating, waiting. The energy signatures she had tracked last night matched this figure perfectly. This was no random predator. It was deliberate, and it was patient. Leona's heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She activated the station's defensive systems, small automated drones she had salvaged from the shuttle. They hovered in protective positions, sensors sweeping the area, ready to react to any breach. The figure outside did not move forward. It was cautious, precise, testing the station's capabilities, perhaps learning her reactions. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Then, unexpectedly, the figure did something impossible. A pulse of energy struck the station, targeted and exact. The shields flared as the structure absorbed the blow, and Leona realized that this being was not just intelligent. It was capable of controlling energy in ways humans had only theorized. The station creaked, metal bending under the force, but it held. Leona grabbed the infant, moving deeper into the station. "We can't stay here," she whispered, though her voice carried an edge of determination. "They're too strong, and we're not ready for a direct fight." The infant responded, its glow intensifying. The small pulses of light seemed to echo the energy outside, almost as if it were reacting to the intruder, feeding off the tension. Leona's eyes widened. Could the child be amplifying energy, or communicating somehow? The thought seemed impossible, but human intuition often worked in the face of the improbable. She felt certain that the infant was more than it appeared, a being of intelligence, adaptability, and perhaps latent power. She moved swiftly through the station, setting up a secure chamber deep inside. The walls were reinforced, and the doors sealed with layers of salvaged metal and energy shields. She placed the infant gently inside and monitored its vitals, which had risen slightly, the glow becoming almost radiant in the dim light. It seemed to recognize the danger, responding not with fear but with a quiet determination, as if signaling that it was ready to endure whatever was coming. Leona's mind raced. She had never seen a creature, human or alien, react to threats this way. Humans were resilient, and this infant seemed to mirror that trait in ways she couldn't yet understand. Perhaps it had inherited some survival instinct from its species, or perhaps it had something more, something that would tip the scales in their favor when the time came. Outside, the figure had not left. Instead, it moved along the surface of the asteroid, scanning, searching, relentless. Leona's sensors could not track it perfectly, but she could see its shadow flicker against the rocky terrain. It was calculating, aware of every weak point, every movement inside the station. Yet, despite its apparent superiority, she felt something familiar. It underestimated her. It underestimated humans. She recalled every mission she had ever flown, every alien encounter, every life she had saved against impossible odds. Humans survived because they adapted, because they improvised, and because they refused to give up. She would prove that again. Leona spent the next few hours preparing for the inevitable confrontation. She rigged energy traps, set up automated defenses, and reinforced weak points along the station's hull. Every measure she took was calculated, precise, and inventive, reflecting the quintessential human approach to danger. Cleverness, not brute force. Then, just as she finished, the station shuddered violently. The intruder had struck again, this time with a series of pulses that tested the defenses she had just set up. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and metal groaned under the strain. Leona gritted her teeth, holding the infant close. Its glow pulsed rapidly in response to the impact, and she realized something extraordinary. The child was not just reacting, it was helping stabilize the station, perhaps amplifying or redirecting energy in subtle ways. Her heart raced. This confirmed her suspicions. The infant was extraordinary, and humans had a role to play in unlocking its potential. They could work together. Its abilities, combined with her ingenuity, could turn the tide against a far more powerful force. Leona took a deep breath, feeling the familiar rush of determination that had carried her through countless dangerous missions. Humans had always survived because they adapted, because they refused to surrender, and because they believed in their capacity to overcome impossible odds. She would prove that now, with the infant at her side, glowing and responding to every challenge. Hours passed in tense vigilance. The intruder did not retreat, but it did not breach the station fully either. It circled, testing, observing, perhaps learning. Leona realized that the coming confrontation would be a battle of wits, endurance, and human determination against a superior force. She felt a surge of confidence. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they had triumphed. This time would be no different. As night fell over the asteroid, Leona sat beside the infant, watching its gentle glow illuminate the room. It had calmed now, the pulsing light steady and reassuring. She reached out, letting her fingers brush against its tiny form. "We'll face this together," she whispered, her voice carrying a mixture of resolve and hope. "No matter what comes, we survive. Humans always find a way." And somewhere in the darkness outside, the shadowed figure waited, unaware that it was underestimating its opponent. One human and one extraordinary infant, bound by circumstance and courage, were ready to prove that in the vast galaxy, no force, no matter how advanced, could easily break the determination of humans who refused to give up. Leona paced the narrow corridors of the asteroid station, her mind racing as the soft glow of the infant pulsed from the secure chamber ahead. Every system she had repaired, every defensive trap she had rigged was ready. But she knew preparation alone would not be enough. The shadowy figure outside was relentless, and she could feel it testing their patience, probing for weaknesses. Humans survived through creativity, adaptability, and determination, and today they would need every ounce of it. The infant's glow was stronger than ever. It seemed aware of the danger, responding subtly to every vibration and tremor outside the station. Leona studied it closely, marveling at the intelligence that gleamed in its large, luminous eyes. The more she observed, the more she realized the child was not merely reacting, it was thinking, learning, even predicting. There was a connection, almost imperceptible, between its energy pulses and the minor systems she had set up inside the station. Humans were inventive, yes, but when paired with something extraordinary, the potential for survival and for victory was limitless. She adjusted her energy traps once more, placing them along the corridors leading to the infant's chamber. Tiny pulses of electromagnetic energy hummed through the walls, designed to create interference and delay any intruder. She rigged automated drones to patrol the outer hull, their sensors finely tuned to detect even the faintest energy signature. Leona understood that she was not simply defending space with brute force. She was crafting a strategy, an improvisation, a game of intelligence and endurance, a hallmark of humanity in the face of impossible odds. Hours passed. The shadowed figure made its move. A pulse of energy struck the outer wall of the station, stronger this time, shaking the structure violently. Leona reacted immediately, activating the drones to intercept and disperse the energy. Sparks flew and alarms screamed, but the station held. The infant stirred, its glow intensifying as though feeding off the disturbance. Leona's heart surged. This child was more than a helpless alien. It was a partner in survival. She moved quickly through the corridors, recalibrating the station's shields. She realized that their strength lay not in raw power, but in adaptability. Humans had long survived in hostile environments not because they were the strongest, but because they could think faster, improvise, and act with determination. Every system she repaired, every trap she laid, was an expression of that uniquely human trait. The shadowed figure may have been powerful, but it had underestimated the cunning of a human mind when survival and compassion demanded it. The intruder tried a direct assault next, striking with a concentrated wave of energy aimed at the station's central chamber. Leona anticipated the move. She rerouted power to the shields protecting the chamber, then triggered a series of countermeasures. The energy wave collided with the reinforced shields, dispersing in fragments across the station's hull. Sparks danced in the dim light, but the infant remained safe, its glow steady and reassuring. Leona realized that this battle was a test, not just of strength, but of intellect. The shadowed figure was probing, seeking a weakness, calculating responses. Humans, by contrast, did not merely react, they innovated. She set up decoys using the station's environmental controls, creating illusions of corridors and openings where none existed. The intruder would waste energy investigating false paths, giving her precious seconds to strengthen defenses and adjust strategies. The infant seemed to respond to these manipulations. Its glow pulsed faster, almost in synchronization with the shields and decoys she had deployed. Leona watched in awe as the child's energy subtly interacted with the station's systems. Humans had always thrived in partnership with tools and technology, but this was something far beyond mechanical assistance. The infant was an amplifier, a guide, enhancing the effectiveness of her strategies in ways she could only begin to understand. Night in the asteroid belt passed slowly. Outside, the intruder's movements grew more erratic, frustration visible in the energy pulses that shook the station. Leona used the opportunity to further fortify her defenses. She rigged additional energy traps, adjusted the drone patrols, and placed sensors in unconventional positions. Every detail mattered. Every improvisation was a demonstration of human ingenuity, a reminder that even the most advanced adversaries could not predict the resourcefulness of someone willing to fight for life. Finally, Leona decided it was time to act. She couldn't simply wait for the intruder to grow stronger. Humans thrived in initiative, in the courage to turn the tables. Using the infant's energy as a subtle amplifier, she created a diversion in one corridor, luring the intruder into a confined space filled with energy nets and electromagnetic pulses. Sparks erupted as the figure collided with the traps, its movements hindered, its focus disrupted. Leona watched closely, noting every reaction, every adjustment it made to counter the defenses. The battle was far from over, but momentum had shifted. Humans often succeeded not because they were invincible, but because they refused to surrender, because they could adapt faster than any opponent expected. Leona felt a surge of confidence. With every move she made, every improvisation, the intruder was forced to react, to expend energy, to reveal patterns. And every revelation was a chance, a small victory, a proof of human determination and intellect. The infant remained at the heart of it all, its glow now steady and almost powerful. Leona realized the child was not merely passive, it was participating, responding to danger, enhancing every human action she took. Its presence was a reminder that life, human or otherwise, could endure, could adapt, and could prevail even in the face of overwhelming odds. Hours later, the intruder retreated temporarily, its energy signature fading into the void. Leona knew it would return, stronger and more cautious. But for now, they had survived. The station was battered, systems strained, but the infant was safe. She placed it back in the secure chamber, brushing her fingers lightly against its small form. "We made it through this round," she whispered, "and we'll survive the next." Alone in the dimly lit station, Leona reflected on the battle. Humans had always been underestimated by other species, dismissed as fragile or reckless. Yet here they were, facing a being far superior in raw power and speed, and still enduring. Survival depended on courage, intelligence, and adaptability, the very traits that had allowed humanity to flourish across countless worlds. The infant's glow pulsed gently, almost in rhythm with her thoughts. She could see it learning, responding, perhaps even understanding that humans were not to be underestimated. And in that quiet moment, she realized something extraordinary. The child represented more than survival. It symbolized partnership, a bond between species that transcended fear, weakness, or prejudice. Humans had found allies in the most unexpected places, and their perseverance had created something new, something powerful. As the asteroid station settled into an uneasy calm, Leona prepared for the next confrontation. The shadowed figure would return, undoubtedly, but humans had something no predator could match: creativity, determination, and a refusal to give up. Every improvisation she had made, every system she had repaired, was a testament to that truth. She looked at the infant, its glow bright and steady, and smiled faintly. "We fight together," she said softly, "and together we will survive." Outside, the void remained indifferent, the stars cold and distant. But inside the battered station, 2 lives, one human, one alien, had proven that courage, intelligence, and resilience could turn the tide. Humans were underestimated far too often, yet they endured, adapted, and triumphed. And in this quiet corner of the galaxy, that truth shone brighter than any star. The night passed with tense vigilance. Leona maintained a constant watch over the infant, her mind racing with strategies and contingencies. Every noise, every shadow was assessed, calculated, and anticipated. She had survived countless threats before, but the presence of this extraordinary life forced her to elevate her skills, to innovate beyond what she had imagined possible. By the time the first faint glow of the distant sun touched the station's hull, Leona felt ready. She had reinforced the defenses, optimized energy flows, and studied the infant's reactions. She was no longer merely surviving. She was preparing to turn the tables, to face the intruder, on her terms. Humans had always thrived in adversity, and today would be no different. The infant stirred, glowing softly, and for the first time, Leona sensed something more profound, the realization that this bond between human ingenuity and alien potential was not simply about survival. It was about proving, once again, that humans, underestimated and overlooked, could defy the impossible, protect the helpless, and shape the future in ways the galaxy would never forget. The asteroid station trembled under the growing tension outside. Leona Veris had spent every moment since the last attack preparing, fortifying, improvising. Every corridor, every system, every trap had been planned with care. Humans survived because they adapted faster, thought smarter, and refused to surrender. Today, they would prove it once more. The Teller infant, now glowing brightly, seemed to sense the approaching storm. Its pulses intensified as if it were drawing strength from the station itself. Leona watched, feeling a connection she could not explain, a bond that transcended words. The child was not helpless. It had been underestimated, just like humans so often were. And together they formed an alliance no predator could predict. Outside, the shadowed figure appeared, its massive form silhouetted against the void. Its energy signature pulsed erratically, aggressive and precise, a predator testing its prey. It moved with unnatural speed, closing in on the station, intent clear. But this time, Leona was ready. Every trap, every drone, every defensive pulse was synchronized, waiting for the first strike. The intruder fired a concentrated wave of energy at the hull. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the station shuddered. Leona activated her countermeasures instantly. Energy nets expanded across key corridors. Drones emitted blinding pulses, and the shields redirected the energy in patterns designed to confuse and overwhelm the predator. Every reaction was precise, an improvisation honed by years of experience. Humans had always thrived under pressure, turning threats into opportunities. The Teller infant stirred, its glow intensifying further. Leona realized the child was amplifying the station's energy systems. Small pulses of light merged with her defenses, enhancing them in ways she had never imagined possible. Humans had tools, ingenuity, and determination. But paired with this extraordinary life, they had something entirely new. A force multiplier that no one outside the station could anticipate. The intruder hesitated, scanning, recalculating. Its attacks became frantic, less precise, as it tried to adapt to the unexpected synergy of human strategy and alien energy. Leona smiled faintly. "That's right," she whispered. "Underestimate us. You'll regret it." She moved through the station, coordinating drones, redirecting shields, and triggering decoys. Each action forced the intruder to expend energy, exposing patterns in its movements. Every strike it attempted was met with preparation, improvisation, and now the mysterious influence of the infant. Humans survived because they learned, adapted, and refused to quit. Today they were proving it in every pulse, every maneuver, every calculated risk. The battle escalated. The shadowed figure lashed out with multiple energy pulses simultaneously, testing every corner of the station. Leona's heart pounded as sparks danced and alarms screamed. But the infant's glow flared in response, bright and steady, feeding the energy grids with pulses that synchronized with the shields and traps. It was working with her, enhancing every defense, turning the tide. Leona realized the truth. This child had been underestimated, just like humans so often were. Its species, its potential, its intelligence. It was all exceptional, but it required someone to act, someone to guide, someone to partner with. Humans did not merely survive alone. They thrived when they adapted, learned, and allied with unexpected forces. And together they had become something the predator could not anticipate. In a bold move, Leona activated the station's final trap, a concentrated energy surge designed to immobilize the intruder temporarily. The infant's pulses merged with the station's power, creating a field of energy that expanded outward. Sparks leapt across the metal walls, and the shadowed figure shrieked in an alien sound that reverberated through the station. its movement slowed, its energy disrupted, and for the first time it seemed unsure, vulnerable. Leona seized the moment. She guided the drones with precise commands, directing energy beams to contain the intruder further, while rerouting shields to create reinforced zones around the infant. Every human instinct, every skill honed through years of survival was applied. And every move was amplified by the child's energy, creating a synergy that no predator could overcome. The intruder, now trapped in the energy field, attempted one final assault. But Leona anticipated it, redirecting energy and deploying drones to create a cage of interference. The shadowed figure struggled, trapped by a combination of human ingenuity, determination, and the extraordinary capabilities of the infant. It pulsed violently, its energy flaring in frustration, but could not escape. Finally, with a last synchronized effort, the infant released a powerful pulse of light, resonating with the station's systems. The energy field expanded, immobilizing the intruder completely. Leona watched as it hovered, unable to move, unable to attack. The predator had underestimated the power of human adaptability, courage, and partnership. Humans survived because they thought differently, acted decisively, and refused to surrender. And today, they had triumphed. Leona lowered her hands, feeling the adrenaline ebb. She approached the infant, brushing her fingers gently against its glowing form. "We did it," she whispered, voice soft but filled with pride. "We survived." Together, the Taller child responded with a subtle pulse, almost as if acknowledging her words. Its glow dimmed slightly, calm and steady now, a silent confirmation that their partnership had succeeded. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, yet here they were, victorious against a force far superior in raw power and speed, proving once again that determination, ingenuity, and courage could overcome impossible odds. Outside, the void remained indifferent, the stars cold and distant, but inside the battered station, 2 lives had proven something remarkable: that humans, when combined with intelligence, compassion, and the willingness to act, could face any threat and survive. Leona knew this was more than survival. It was a demonstration of humanity's resilience and creativity. She spent the following hours repairing damage, monitoring the intruder, and ensuring the infant was safe. Its energy pulses had stabilized, glowing steadily as though content. Leona realized that the child had not only survived but had contributed actively to their victory. Humans had a unique ability to recognize potential and adapt to it, and this was a perfect example. In the calm after the battle, Leona prepared a small message to Jarek, summarizing the encounter. "The infant is safe. The intruder has been neutralized, for now. Human ingenuity combined with its abilities proved decisive. Prepare for analysis. This is unlike anything we've encountered before." She sat beside the infant, its glow illuminating the dim room, and allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. Humans had always survived by turning challenges into opportunities. They had thrived because they refused to surrender, because they improvised when the unexpected arose, and because they believed in their capacity to protect the helpless. And now, paired with this extraordinary life, they had created a bond that ensured survival and demonstrated the unyielding spirit of humanity. Leona smiled, quietly confident. The galaxy would never truly underestimate humans again. Not when they had the courage to act, the intelligence to adapt, and the heart to protect those who could not protect themselves. This small alien child, glowing softly in the secure chamber, was a testament to the fact that humans did not merely survive. They triumphed in ways the universe could never predict. As the distant stars cast pale light across the station's hull, Leona reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The initial discovery, the perilous escape, the relentless pursuit, and now, the hard-earned victory. Every step had been a testament to human determination. Every improvisation, every strategy, every calculated risk had proven that humanity could face impossible odds and emerge victorious. The infant stirred once more, its globe pulsing in rhythm with her own heartbeat. Leona reached out, letting her fingers brush against its small form, and felt a surge of hope. Together, they had faced the unknown and prevailed. Together, they would continue to face whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at them. Humans had survived countless threats before, underestimated at every turn, and they had always adapted, overcome, and thrived. This time was no different. Outside, the intruder remained trapped in the energy field, a silent reminder that strength alone was not enough. Strategy, intelligence, and determination had tipped the scales. Humans, often dismissed as reckless or fragile, had proven that they could overcome forces far superior to themselves. Leona looked once more at the glowing infant, a sense of purpose settling over her. This child was more than a life to protect. It was a symbol, a partner, and a catalyst for humanity's ingenuity. Together they had turned vulnerability into strength, fear into action, and uncertainty into victory. And in the cold, silent expanse of the Andromeda Belt, two unlikely allies, one human, one alien, had rewritten the rules of survival. They had shown the universe what humans were truly capable of: resilience, intelligence, and an unyielding spirit that refused to surrender no matter the odds. Leona allowed herself a quiet laugh, the kind that comes from exhaustion, relief, and pride. Humans survived because they refused to quit. Humans thrived because they adapted. And humans, when faced with the helpless, the extraordinary, and the unknown, would rise to the challenge in ways the galaxy could never anticipate. The infant glowed softly beside her, calm and steady, a partner in this extraordinary journey. Leona knew the road ahead would be difficult. Threats would return, mysteries would remain. But they had survived today, and that survival, forged through ingenuity, courage, and determination, was proof that humans were unstoppable when they refused to surrender. The stars outside continued to shine, distant and indifferent, but inside the station, humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever. Together, human and alien had faced the impossible, and together, they would continue to endure, adapt, and triumph. For in the end, that was what humans did best. They survived, they persevered, and they proved, time and again, that no challenge was too great, no adversary too strong, and no darkness too deep to overcome.